The day my husband disappeared, he left his coffee half finished on the kitchen counter. I remember because I stood there staring at it growing cold, wondering if he'd come back for it. He didn't. My name is Vivian, and that morning started like any other. Emily, our daughter, was bouncing around the kitchen in her party dress, practicing being 7 years old. It was her birthday. Daddy promised to help me name all my new stuffed animals after the party, she said, twirling. He said we'd make a special chart and everything. I smiled, tying ribbons in her hair. That sounds wonderful, sweetie. Daddy just ran to get your cake, remember? The lie felt bitter on my tongue. Chandler had stormed out after our argument, muttering something about needing air, but it was Emily's birthday. I wouldn't let his temper tantrum ruin it. 2 hours later, my sister Yesenia arrived early to help set up. She found me pacing the living room, phone pressed to my ear. Still no answer? She asked, setting down bags of decorations. I shook my head. Straight to voicemail, again. Did something happen this morning? Just the usual, money stuff. He's been so secretive lately about work, about everything, really. I lowered my voice so Emily couldn't hear from the next room. Last night I found him shredding documents at 2 a.m. When I asked about it, he completely shut down. Yesenia's face darkened. That doesn't sound good, Viv. He'll be back, I said, more to convince myself. He has to be. It's Emily's birthday. But the party started without him. I plastered on a smile as our house filled with sugar-high second graders and their parents, made excuses about an emergency at work, sang happy birthday, watched Emily's eyes dart to the door every time it opened, her smile dimming slightly each time it wasn't her father. That night, after tucking an exhausted Emily into bed, I found his wedding ring on our dresser. His closet was half empty, his passport gone. The police were sympathetic but unhelpful. No signs of foul play, no suspicious bank activity, just a man who chose to walk away from his family. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. I learned to navigate single parenthood, to answer Emily's questions about when Daddy was coming home, to silence the whispers at school pickup about the woman whose husband abandoned her. 3 years passed. I built a new normal for us. Emily stopped asking about him. I stopped jumping every time the phone rang. The pain dulled from a sharp stab to a quiet ache, until this morning. Mom, look what came in the mail. Emily waved a postcard as I made breakfast. It has pretty mountains on it. My heart stopped when I saw the handwriting, his handwriting. Having the time of my life. Hope you're not still waiting around for me. You always were too dependent. See. The card shook in my hands. Postmarked from Switzerland. No return address. What is it, Mom? Emily peered up at me. You look weird. I forced a smile. Just a silly advertisement, sweetie. Finish your breakfast or you'll be late for school. She shrugged and returned to her cereal, already forgotten about the postcard. But I couldn't stop staring at it. 3 years of silence, and this was what he had to say? My phone buzzed. Yesenia calling. I can't talk right now, I answered quietly. I'm trying not to fall apart in front of Emily. What happened? He sent a postcard. He's in Switzerland, apparently. Living his best life My voice cracked. While I've been here picking up the pieces. That bastard, Yesenia hissed. I'm coming over after you drop Emily at school. Don't argue. I hung up and watched Emily finish her breakfast, chattering about her upcoming science project. My beautiful, resilient daughter who deserved so much better than a father who could discard her so easily. The postcard lay on the counter, mocking me, having the time of my life. The words burned into my brain, igniting something new inside me. Not just pain or grief, but anger. White-hot, clarifying anger. Ready for school, Mom? Emily grabbed her backpack. I picked up the postcard and ripped it in half, then quarters, then eighths. The pieces fluttered into the trash like confetti. Ready, sweetie, I said, grabbing my keys. Let's go. Something had shifted. In trying to hurt me one last time, Chandler had unknowingly given me a gift. Freedom from hope, freedom from waiting. And with that freedom came a sudden, crystal-clear certainty. I would show him exactly what this dependent woman could do. You're doing what? Yesenia stared at me across her kitchen table, coffee forgotten between us. Going back to school, I repeated, sliding her the community college brochure. Business administration. They have evening classes and the tuition is reasonable. But your job at the dental office is fine for now, I cut in. But it's not enough. That postcard made me realize something. I've spent 3 years just surviving, making do. I want more than that. I need more than that. Emily's laughter drifted in from the backyard where she was playing with Yesenia's kids. The sound strengthened my resolve. Besides, I added, I'm tired of counting pennies while he's gallivanting around Switzerland. Yesenia leaned forward. How are you going to manage classes with Emily? That's actually why I'm here. I took a deep breath. I could use your help with childcare some evenings. I'd pay you, of course. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Yesenia reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Emily's like a daughter to me. Of course I'll help. 2 weeks later, I sat in my first business class. Notebook open, heart racing. The professor, a woman named Janet with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, wrote Entrepreneurship 101 on the whiteboard. Look around, she said. Half of you won't finish this program. A quarter of you will finish but never start a business. The rest of you? She smiled. You'll change your lives. I gripped my pen tighter. I would be in that last group. I had to be. The weeks flew by in a blur of lectures, assignments, and late-night study sessions. Every morning I'd get Emily ready for school, work my shift at the dental office, pick her up, make dinner, help with homework, then head to class while Yesenia watched her. Mom, Emily said one night as I was rushing to leave, are you going to be a business lady like Mrs. Rodriguez? Mrs. Rodriguez was her friend's mom who owned a successful real estate agency. Something like that, sweetie, maybe even better. She beamed. Cool, can I help? I paused at the door, struck by an idea. Actually, maybe you can. What do you think other kids with only one parent might need help with? Emily thought for a moment. Sarah in my class lives with just her dad. She says sometimes it's hard because he doesn't know how to do girl stuff, like braiding hair or picking out clothes. I hugged her tight. You're brilliant, you know that? That conversation sparked something. In class that night, while Janet discussed target markets and need identification, I started jotting down notes. Single parent resources, skill sharing platform, community support, online tutorials, local meetups, interesting ideas, a voice said behind me. I turned to find a man peering at my notes. I'm Mohammed. I run a tech startup incubator downtown. Vivian, I replied, and these are just random thoughts? No such thing as random thoughts in business, he said, sliding me his card. Come by my office tomorrow. Let's develop these ideas further. The next day, I sat in Mohammed's sleek office, explaining my vision. There are so many single parents out there just drowning, I said. Not just financially, but emotionally. They need practical help, but they also need community, connection, hope. Mohammed nodded. And you want to provide that through an online platform? Yes. Imagine a place where single parents could find everything from homework, help to emergency childcare, where they could share skills, support each other, where no one feels alone. Like you did? He asked quietly. I met his eyes. Like I did. He leaned back. It's ambitious. You'll need funding, technical support, marketing strategy. I know it won't be easy. I didn't say that was a bad thing. He smiled. Ambitious is good. Ambitious changes the world. That evening, I found another postcard in the mail. Same mountains, same smug tone. Still living the dream. Hope you found some purpose beyond being Emily's mom. See, this time, I didn't rip it up. I pinned it to my bulletin board, right next to Mohammed's card and my class schedule. A reminder of why I started this journey. What's that, Mom? Emily asked, pointing to the postcard. That? I smiled. That's my motivation board. Everything on there is helping me build something special, something that's going to help a lot of people. Like a superhero? I laughed. Sort of, but instead of a cape, I'll have a website. Emily nodded seriously. Websites are cooler than capes anyway. I hugged her close, breathing in her sweet shampoo smell. Chandler thought he was punishing me with his taunts. Instead, he was fueling a fire that would light the way for others. And someday, he'd see exactly what this purposeless mom could accomplish. Singlestrength.com is already taken, Mohammed said, scrolling through domain names. So is Single Parent Power. I paced his office, running my hands through my hair. What about Parenting Solo? Taken. Raising Hope? Taken. Single Parent Sanctuary? Mohammed's fingers paused over his keyboard. That is available. And it's good. Really good. 3 months of planning had led to this moment. My business plan was polished, my pitch deck ready. All we needed was the perfect name. Sanctuary, I repeated, testing the word. A safe place, a refuge. It fits your mission perfectly, Mohammed said. Let's grab it before someone else does. As he registered the domain, my phone buzzed. A text from Yesenia. Emily's got a fever. Picked her up from school. Don't panic, she's fine. Just resting at my place. My heart raced. I have to go. No, you don't, Mohammed said firmly. Yesenia's got this. We have potential investors coming in 30 minutes. But, Vivian, he fixed me with a stern look. You can't build a support system for single parents if you never let your own support system work. He was right, but it still felt wrong. I checked my phone again. Tell you what, Mohammed said. We'll do the pitch, then you can go straight to Emily. Deal? I nodded, trying to focus on the presentation materials spread across his desk. The website mock-ups looked beautiful. Clean, welcoming, easy to navigate. The forum section where parents could connect. The skill-sharing marketplace. The emergency resources database. Ms. Vivian? His assistant poked her head in. The investors are here. I smoothed my blazer and took a deep breath. 3 people filed in. 2 men in suits and a woman whose sharp eyes reminded me of my Professor Janet. Tell us about Single Parent Sanctuary, one of the men said after introductions. I stood, channeling all my nervousness into energy. Imagine you're a single mom working 2 jobs. Your kid gets sick. You can't miss work or you'll be fired. Your family lives across the country. What do you do? The woman leaned forward slightly. Or you're a single dad, I continued. Your daughter needs help with hair and makeup for her first school dance. You're clueless. Where do you turn? I clicked through my slides, showing them the platform's features. Single Parent Sanctuary isn't just another parenting website. It's a community, a marketplace, a lifeline. The questions came rapid fire. Market size, monetization strategy, competitive analysis. I answered each one, my confidence growing. This wasn't just a business pitch. It was my life, my story, my solution to a problem I'd lived through. One last question, the woman said. Why you? What makes you the right person to build this? I pulled up my final slide, a photo of Emily and me from her last birthday. Because 3 years ago, my husband walked out. No warning, no explanation. I had to figure everything out alone. But nobody should have to do this alone. The room fell silent. The woman nodded slowly. We'll need to discuss, one of the men said. We'll be in touch within the week. As soon as they left, I grabbed my bag. Emily, go, Mohammed said. You crushed it. I'll call as soon as I hear anything. I found Emily curled up on Yesenia's couch, watching cartoons, her fever already breaking. Mommy, she reached for me. Aunt Yesenia made soup and let me have popsicles. Of course she did, I said, hugging her. Feeling better? Much better. Did you get your website name? We did. Want to hear it? She nodded eagerly. Single Parent Sanctuary. What's a sanctuary? It's a safe place, Yesenia answered, bringing more popsicles. Like our house is for you and your mom. Emily considered this. Will it help other kids whose daddies left? My heart squeezed. And mommies who left, and parents who were never together, and families of all kinds who just need a little help. Good, Emily said firmly, because Sarah's daddy still can't braid her hair right. 3 days later, Mohammed called. I answered on the first ring. They're in, he said without preamble. Full seed funding. They want to move fast. I sank into a chair, hands shaking. Really? Really. Congratulations, founder. Ready to build your sanctuary? I looked at the postcard still pinned to my bulletin board. Having the time of my life, it mocked. Well, Chandler, I thought, so am I. Ready, I said. Let's do this. 1,000 users, Mohammed announced, bursting into my new office. We hit the milestone 3 months ahead of projections. I stared at the analytics dashboard on my screen, watching the numbers tick up in real time. Each one represented a single parent finding their way to our sanctuary. Have you read today's success stories? I asked, turning my laptop toward him. A dad in Seattle found emergency childcare through our network. A mom in Atlanta started a small business using our entrepreneurship resources. And this one? Mohammed pointed to a recent post. Single mother of 3, finally left an abusive relationship because our community helped her find housing and legal aid. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Can Angela's mom drive me home from soccer? Pretty please? Angela's mom. I smiled, remembering the day Angela's mother found single-parent sanctuary. I felt so alone. She'd told me during our first coffee meetup. Divorced after 20 years, starting over at 45. Then I found your platform, and suddenly I had this whole community. Now she was one of our most active members, organizing local meetups and mentoring newly single parents. Yes, sweetie, I texted back. Tell Mrs. Angela thank you. Speaking of success stories, Mohammed said, dropping a newspaper on my desk. Local Business Weekly wants to interview you. I picked up the paper. Rising Phoenix. How one woman's heartbreak sparked a digital revolution. They're calling you the single-parent whisperer. Mohammed grinned. That's ridiculous, I laughed, but warmth spread through my chest. We were making a difference. Real, measurable difference. A notification popped up on my screen, a new forum post. Dear Vivian, your platform saved my life. After my wife died, I couldn't cope with raising our son alone. The grief counseling resources you connected me with, the other widowed parents who understood. I'm finally seeing light again. Thank you for building this sanctuary. Marcus. Below the post, a comment caught my eye. Karma has a way of rewarding those who turn their pain into purpose. Something about the writing style made my skin prickle. The careful phrasing, the subtle emphasis on karma. It reminded me of... Vivian? Mohammed waved his hand in front of my face. You okay? Fine, I said quickly. Just thinking about the interview. That evening, I hosted a virtual workshop on financial planning for single parents. 50 faces filled my screen, each with their own story, their own struggle, their own strength. Remember, I told them, being a single parent doesn't mean being alone. We're building this community together. After the workshop, Emily helped me make dinner. She'd grown so much in the past months, becoming more independent, more aware. Mom, she said, carefully cutting vegetables. Sarah's dad signed up for single-parent sanctuary. Oh? I tried to keep my voice casual. How's that going? Good. He learned to braid hair from the tutorials, and... She hesitated. He met a nice lady in the support group. Sarah says she's happy her dad's not sad anymore. I hugged her from behind. How do you feel about that? I'm glad, she said firmly. But Mom, I'm really glad you're not sad anymore either. Later that night, after Emily was asleep, I scrolled through the day's forum posts. The comment about karma nagged at me. I clicked on the user's profile. New beginnings 47. Joined 3 weeks ago. No personal information. Only a handful of comments, all on posts about moving forward after abandonment. My cursor hovered over the block button. If it was Chandler, but no, I wouldn't let him hijack this. Single-parent sanctuary wasn't about him anymore. It was about every parent who'd ever felt lost, scared, or alone. My phone lit up with a text from Angela. Emily was amazing at soccer today. That goal she scored? Pure talent. You're raising one incredible kid, Viv. I smiled, remembering the frightened, broken woman I'd been 3 years ago. The one who thought she couldn't survive without Chandler. The one who measured her worth by his presence. That woman was gone. Another notification pinged. An email from Local Business Weekly confirming tomorrow's interview. We're particularly interested in discussing your journey from abandoned wife to successful entrepreneur, the reporter wrote. Our readers love a good redemption story. Redemption? I thought about the thousands of parents finding strength through our platform. The children growing up seeing their single parents thrive. The communities forming, the lives changing. This wasn't redemption. This was revolution. I opened my laptop and began typing a response to Marcus's post, aware that somewhere out there, Chandler might be reading, Dear Marcus, your story reminds us all that our greatest challenges can become our greatest purpose. Welcome to the sanctuary. You're home now. Vivian. A book? I stared at Mohammed across our weekly strategy meeting. You want me to write a book? Publishers are already interested, he said, spreading proposals across the table. Your Local Business Weekly interview went viral. People want to hear your story. I'm not a writer. You're a storyteller, he interrupted. I've seen you connect with parents in the forums. Besides, the platform needs this kind of exposure to reach the next level. Before I could respond, my assistant poked her head in. Vivian, Emily's school is online one. My heart dropped. Put them through. Mrs. Horton, the school nurse said, Emily had a panic attack during class. She's okay now, but she's asking for you. 20 minutes later, I found Emily curled up on the nurse's office cot, her face pale. What happened, sweetie? She wouldn't meet my eyes. We had to write essays about our heroes for English class. And everyone wrote about their dads. Her voice cracked. Sarah wrote about her dad and how he learned to braid hair and found happiness again. And I couldn't write about anything. Oh, Em. I pulled her close. So I wrote about you instead, she whispered, about single-parent sanctuary and helping other families. But when I read it out loud, Tommy laughed and said it was stupid that my hero was just my mom. My chest tightened with familiar anger. There's nothing just about being your mom. That's what Ms. Peters said. She made Tommy apologize, but then I couldn't breathe, and everything got fuzzy. I signed her out for the day, and we got ice cream, our traditional crisis food. Mom, Emily asked, picking at her sundae, do you think Dad ever thinks about us? I don't know, sweetie. I chose my words carefully, but I think anyone who doesn't want to be part of your life is missing out on something amazing. That evening, I sat at my computer, Emily's essay question echoing in my mind. I opened a new document and began typing. Dear daughter of mine, when your father left, I thought he broke me. Instead, he broke me open. And from that breaking came strength I never knew I had. The words flowed faster than I could type. Not just my story, but the stories of every parent who'd found their way to single-parent sanctuary. Angela rebuilding her life at 45. Marcus finding hope after loss. Sarah's dad learning to braid hair. My phone buzzed. A text from Mohammed. Got a publisher, they love the concept. Book launch in 3 months? I looked at the words filling my screen. Make it 4, I have a lot to say. The next weeks passed in a blur of writing, platform management, and motherhood. Emily's panic attack led to weekly counseling sessions, where she finally began processing her father's abandonment. It's good she's dealing with this now, her therapist told me. You've built something amazing with single-parent sanctuary, but don't forget to keep building her too. One morning, as I dropped Emily at school, she grabbed my hand. Mom, I'm proud of you, for the book and everything. Yeah? She nodded. Tommy's mom joined single-parent sanctuary last week. His parents are getting divorced. Now he doesn't laugh at my essay anymore. That afternoon, during a meeting with the publishing team, my assistant brought in the mail. On top was a familiar postcard. Swiss mountains, Chandler's handwriting. Heard about your little website, playing entrepreneur now? Cute. Some people never change. See. The publisher was talking about marketing strategies, but I couldn't focus. 4 years of rebuilding my life, helping others rebuild theirs, and he still saw me as that dependent woman he'd left behind. Vivian? The publisher waved her hand. The book launch event. We're thinking something big. Your story's inspiring enough, but with all these families you've helped, invite them, I said suddenly. Not just press and industry people, invite our community members, the real heroes of this story. That's actually brilliant, she said, a celebration of single-parent success stories. That night, I added a new chapter to the book, To the Man Who Thought He Broke Me. Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can lead to the best thing you'll ever do. You thought you were ending my story. Instead, you helped me write a better one. I posted the event announcement on Single Parent Sanctuary's forum. Within hours, hundreds of members planned to attend. Among the responses, one stood out. New beginnings, 47. I'll be there. Some people do change, if you give them reason enough. My hands shook as I closed my laptop. In 6 weeks, I'd stand on that stage and tell our story. And somewhere in that audience, I had a feeling Chandler would be watching. Let him come, I thought. Let him see exactly what his cute little website had become. Mom, wake up! Emily's voice pierced through my sleep. Something's wrong. I bolted upright. Emily stood in my doorway, doubled over, face pale in the darkness. My stomach, she gasped. It really hurts. The clock read 2:17 a.m., 12 hours before the book launch. In the ER waiting room, Emily curled against me, burning with fever. My phone buzzed constantly, Mohammed coordinating last-minute details, the publisher confirming arrangements, Angela offering to help. Emily Horton, a nurse called. The doctor's diagnosis came quickly. Appendicitis. They needed to operate immediately. But the book launch, Emily whispered as they prepped her for surgery. You've worked so hard. Hey, I squeezed her hand. You're more important than any book, always. Can you tell me some of it? She asked as the anesthesia started taking effect. The part about being brave? I stroked her hair. Being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing what needs to be done anyway. Like you right now. Her eyes fluttered closed. A nurse touched my arm. The surgery will take about an hour. We'll take good care of her. In the waiting room, I called Mohammed. We need to postpone, I said. Emily's having emergency surgery. What, is she okay? Appendicitis. They say it's routine, but I'll handle everything, he said. Just focus on Emily. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Heard about Emily, praying for her. The writing style, the timing. My hands shook. Before I could respond, another text came through. Some things are more important than revenge. Chandler? I typed back. No response. Angela arrived with coffee and a change of clothes. The whole single-parent sanctuary community is sending love. We've got people offering to help with the launch, bring meals, whatever you need. The launch, I groaned. 400 people coming, press coverage, everything we've worked for. We'll still be there when Emily's better, Angela said firmly. This is exactly what the platform is about, having support when life happens. The surgeon appeared. Emily did great. She's in recovery now. I sagged with relief. They led me to her room where she lay sleeping, small and pale against the white sheets. My brave girl. My phone buzzed again. Mohammed. Don't worry about anything, he said. The community stepped up. Angela's hosting a virtual launch event tonight. Parents are sharing how single-parent sanctuary changed their lives. It's actually perfect. Proves everything your book is about. But the publishers are thrilled. They're calling it authentic marketing. Plus the story of you choosing your daughter over the launch. Pure gold. Emily stirred. Mom? I'm here, sweetie. Did I miss the launch? The launch changed plans to accommodate something more important. She frowned groggily. Me? Always you. A nurse came in with flowers, beautiful white lilies. These just arrived. The card read, Some things never change, like a mother's love for her child. I'm sorry I forgot that. See. Emily peered at the flowers. Who are they from? Someone learning about bravery, I said, tucking the card away. Throughout the day, my phone streamed with notifications. The virtual launch had gone viral, where Single Parent Strong trended on Twitter. Sales rankings climbed. But more importantly, Emily's room filled with love. Cards from Single Parent Sanctuary members, stuffed animals from her classmates, Sarah and her dad bringing homemade soup. See, Sarah said, hugging Emily carefully. Our moms and dads are heroes. They just show it differently. That evening, as Emily slept, I opened my laptop to check the virtual launch recordings. Parents from across the country shared their stories, each one a testament to the power of community. A new comment appeared on the live stream. New, Beginnings 47. Watching you choose Emily over everything else today reminded me of what real success looks like. The book can wait. Some moments can't. I started typing a response, then stopped. Instead, I closed my laptop and watched my daughter sleep, thinking about bravery and choices and the different ways we show love. Tomorrow, we'd reschedule the launch. Tomorrow, we'd deal with publishers and press and possibly even Chandler. But tonight, in this quiet hospital room, I had everything that mattered. My daughter, our community, and the knowledge that sometimes our greatest triumphs come not from the stages we stand on, but from the moments we choose to step off them. 2 weeks after Emily's surgery, I stood backstage at the rescheduled book launch, heart pounding. The auditorium buzzed with hundreds of voices, our single-parent sanctuary community, finally together in one place. Mom, you're fidgeting, Emily said, straightening my jacket. She'd insisted on introducing me, despite still being a bit pale from her hospital stay. Just nervous, sweetie. Don't be. These are your people. She grinned. Our people. Mohammed appeared with last-minute updates. Press is here. Publishers are thrilled with pre-sales, and he hesitated. He's here. My stomach dropped. Where? Back row, left side. Want me to have security? No, I said quickly. Let him stay. Emily frowned. Who's here? Before I could answer, Angela rushed over. 5 minutes, Viv. The crowd's getting excited. I peeked through the curtain. Familiar faces filled the seats. Sarah and her dad, Marcus and his son, dozens of parents I'd counseled through the platform. And there in the back, a figure I'd know anywhere. Older, grayer, but unmistakably Chandler. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please welcome Emily Horton. Emily squeezed my hand and walked on stage, her voice clear and strong. 3 years ago, my dad left us. I was 7, and I thought our world was ending. But my mom? She built a new world. Not just for us, but for thousands of families like ours. My vision blurred with tears. She taught me that sometimes the worst things that happen to you can lead to the best things you'll ever do. So please welcome my hero, my mom, Vivian Horton. The applause was deafening as I walked out. Emily hugged me and whispered, I saw him. I'm okay. We're okay. Looking out at the crowd, I took a deep breath. 4 years ago, I thought being left by my husband was the end of my story. I was wrong. It was just the beginning. I shared our journey, the postcard that sparked single-parent sanctuary, the community that grew beyond my wildest dreams, Emily's recent hospital stay that proved the power of that community. But this isn't just my story, I continued. It's Sarah's dad learning to braid hair. It's Marcus finding hope after loss. It's Angela starting over at 45. It's every single parent who ever felt alone and found family here instead. Throughout my speech, I deliberately avoided looking at the back row. But during the Q&A session, a familiar voice spoke up. What would you say to someone who regrets leaving, who realizes too late what they destroyed? The room fell silent. Emily, sitting in the front row, stiffened. I met Chandler's eyes for the first time in 4 years. I'd say that regret without action is just self-pity. Real redemption requires work, time, and understanding that some bridges, once burned, can only be rebuilt if the other person chooses to help you build them. He nodded slowly, understanding the message. After the formal presentation, during the reception, I was surrounded by well-wishers and community members sharing stories. Emily stayed close, signing books alongside me, beaming with pride. Then suddenly she tensed. Mom. Chandler stood before us, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. Hello, Emily, he said softly. You've grown so much. Emily's chin lifted, a gesture so like my own it made my heart ache. Yes, I have. We both have. Vivian, he started. Not here, I cut in. Not now. This is about them. I gestured to the room full of single parents. Their stories, their strength. I understand. He pulled out a worn copy of the postcard he'd sent years ago. I was wrong, about everything. You were never dependent, you were always strong. I just couldn't see it. Emily spoke up. Are you new beginnings, 47? He looked startled, then nodded. How did you know? Because Mom taught me that real strength is admitting when you're wrong and trying to do better. She paused. Even if it's too late. Chandler's eyes filled with tears. You're very wise for 12. I had a good teacher, she said, squeezing my hand. Mohammed appeared, saving us from the growing tension. Vivian, the publisher wants photos with some of the families. As we turned away, Chandler called out softly, I'm proud of you both. Emily looked back. We're proud of us, too. That's what matters. Later, signing the last books, I found a note slipped between the pages. You've built something beautiful from the ashes of what I destroyed. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve even a small place in the world you've created. Gal? I tucked the note away, watching Emily laugh with Sarah and Angela's kids. Sometimes I realized the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better, building stronger, creating something so beautiful that even those who hurt you can't help but admire it from afar. And now, please welcome back to our stage, the founder of Single Parent Sanctuary, Vivian Horton. The spotlight felt different this time as I walked onto the TEDx stage, warmer, like coming home. When people ask me about success, I began, they usually mean the numbers: 5 million users, offices in 12 countries, a New York Times bestseller. I paused, finding Emily's face in the front row. But true success isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in moments. Like the single dad who learned to French braid his daughter's hair through our tutorials, the mom who found the courage to leave an abusive relationship because our community had her back, the children who saw their parents rise, rebuild, and thrive. In the wings, Mohammed gave me a thumbs up. Angela, now our chief community officer, wiped away tears. Someone once sent me a postcard saying I was too dependent, that I'd never find purpose beyond being a mom. I pulled out the worn postcard, holding it up. They were right about one thing: being a mom is my purpose, but not in the way they thought. Emily grinned, knowing what was coming. Because being a mom taught me the most valuable business lesson. Every person needs a sanctuary, a place where they're seen, supported, and celebrated. Sometimes we have to build that sanctuary ourselves. After the talk, during the reception, Emily tugged my sleeve. "Dad's here." I turned to find Chandler standing awkwardly by the refreshments table, not lurking in the back anymore, but not quite belonging either. "That was incredible," he said. "Both of you are incredible." Emily stepped forward. "We're having dinner with the TEDx organizers. Would you like to join us?" My breath caught. We'd seen Chandler occasionally over the past few months, careful, supervised visits as Emily slowly opened the door to a relationship on her terms. But this was the first time she'd initiated more. "Only if your mom is comfortable with it," Chandler said, looking at me questioningly. Before I could respond, Sarah burst through the crowd. "Emily, Dad just got approved as a mentor on the platform. He's going to teach other single dads about hairstyling." Emily laughed. "See, Dad? Everyone can contribute something." The tension eased as Sarah's father joined us, talking excitedly about his planned tutorials. Watching them, I realized something profound. Our sanctuary hadn't just helped people survive single parenthood. It had helped them redefine family altogether. "Dinner would be nice," I said finally, "as a community." At the restaurant, Emily held court at the center of the table, surrounded by Sarah, Angela's kids, and Marcus's son. The adults talked shop, new platform features, upcoming events, success stories. "Remember when you thought websites were cooler than capes?" I whispered to Emily during dessert. She rolled her eyes. "Mom, I was 9. But you know what? I was right. You did build something better than a superhero costume." "We built it," I corrected. "All of us." Chandler cleared his throat. "I have something to share, if that's okay." Everyone turned to him. "I've been working with a therapist, trying to understand why I left." He looked at Emily. "Not to excuse it, but to make sure I never hurt anyone that way again. And I've started a support group for parents who left and want to make amends, through Single Parent Sanctuary." The table fell silent. "That's actually really needed," Angela said slowly. "We get questions about that all the time." Emily reached across the table and squeezed her father's hand. "I'm proud of you, Dad. That takes courage." Mohammed raised his glass. "To courage, then, and to sanctuaries of all kinds." Later that night, as Emily and I walked home, she said, "Mom, remember when you told me that sometimes the worst things lead to the best things?" I remember. I think Dad leaving was like that. Not because leaving was okay, but because look what we built from it. Look how many people we've helped. I hugged her close. "When did you get so wise?" "Must be genetic." She grinned. "Hey, can we stop by the office? I want to show you something." In the quiet of Single Parent Sanctuary's headquarters, Emily led me to the wall of success stories, photos and letters from families we'd helped. In the center, she'd hung a new frame. Inside was the old postcard from Chandler, but around it she'd arranged pictures of our journey: the first website launch, her hospital stay, the book release, today's TEDx talk. Above it all, she'd written, "Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Sometimes living well means helping others live better." "Perfect," I whispered. Emily smiled. "No, Mom, not perfect. Better."